Bring out the secret police.
What's going on, everybody? I hope everyone's having a fantastic evening, fantastic afternoon, fantastic pre-noon, no matter where you are in the world. I'm Hasan Piker, and this is HASAN, our broadcast coming to you live from sunny California, Los Angeles, folks. We're live and alive, and I hope all the boys, girls, and MBs are having a fantastic one because today's a beautiful day. Today's a wonderful day. Today is, I don't even know what day it is. I guess it's Wednesday. We're live. We're alive. It's Wednesday, August 5th. It's one day after Election Day. You already know what's up. You already know what it is. You already know what's going on. We won. But our job is not done, of course, as always. When Bernie was asked about you, plus panel discussion mentioning you later.
Let me ask you about one of those campaign events, because just last night, the popular but very controversial streamer Hasan Piker was at one of El Sayed's final events. The two did a stream together, a fairly lengthy stream. I know that you've spoken to Hasan Piker in the past, but are you comfortable with El Sayed having a close association with him, given some of his past statements? To give you an example, one of the more controversial ones is that Piker has said America deserved 9/11. Are you comfortable with that association?
No, I am not. I think that's a dumb statement. On the other hand, he has a whole lot of followers, and there's a lot of things that he's saying that are making sense to a lot of people. I think, we have to get above cancel culture. When you're doing radio, whatever they do.
Radio. I love Bernie, dude. I love Bernie so much. When you're doing radio, whatever you're doing, they're talking for 3 hours. They're doing the radios. They're doing the podcasts. They're on the interwebs. Controversial radio hosts. No, he's right. He's nailing it. It's just funny because he said I do radio. He's been on my stream so many times at this point, and it's just really funny that it's virtually impossible for him to understand what Twitch streaming is. One of the things that people did was they clipped our boy. They clipped Unc out of context as well. He was saying that he disavows the statement, not the person, not the platform, right? That's the classic thing that people say. And they were like, yeah, no, Bernie hates Hasan or something like that. It's very funny. Neera Tanden, Senator Bernie Sanders tells CNN he's not comfortable with Abdul Sayed. Neera Tanden said, what I have learned tonight is a lot of posters and pundits in the Democratic Party ecosystem are very good at talking to white college-educated voters like themselves and a real blind spot with working class people of all races. I said, are you committed to building a Senate Dem majority? And she posted the out of context Bernie Sanders quote. And I know Neera Tanden knows what she's doing. Oh no, I'm so devastated. Even if Bernie Sanders had said something like, yeah, I think fuck Hasan, what happens when he comes on the stream again? What now? You know what I mean? What? You don't even like Bernie Sanders. Why do you give a shit what he has to say? This is, of course, her second go at it, because she initially responded to me, probably drunk off wine and maybe her favorite form of benzos or opiates, allegedly. Dude, haven't you done enough damage? Was it your idea to pose by the pool on election eve? I want to build a Senate Dem majority, and that probably would be helped by your return to LA. Now, what's really interesting about this is, once again, given the margin of victory here, every vote mattered. Does Neera Tanden think that I run the Abdul El Sayed campaign? Does Neera Tanden think that I was the one who was like, let's do a pool party before? Let's do a pool party the day prior to the election? Does she think I have any decision-making power here? Well, clearly she didn't actually think that was the case, because she was embarrassed by the stupid fucking response that she delivered, so she deleted it. And then came back with quote out of context of Bernie Sanders. If you suggested the pool party, why the hell would you show up in the wrong type of suit? Yeah. I know that for a lot of people who are stuck on Twitter, whose brains are completely melted by being on Twitter so much, they think, I guess, I'm responsible for the polls. They think I'm responsible for all the campaign events. I didn't go to Michigan to go to a pool party. I went to Michigan to knock on doors, to canvass. And not only for Abdul El Sayed, but also for Donovan McKinney, who won his race. To fundraise for Donovan McKinney, to phone bank for him, which we did. We weren't there for pool parties, but if people tell me to attend something, I'm going to attend it. I have no say in the matter. I think a lot of people, like I said, are desperately trying to throw some stink on this victory to the best of their ability. We're not going to let it happen. Yeah, I was in and out. I was there at the pool party for 5 minutes. That was enough for Neera Tanden. Shannon Wass is another one who was like, going to bed, but if El Sayed wins this race narrowly, one of the first things he'll be told to do is kick Hasan Piker to the curb to campaign statewide. And the Schadenfreude is delicious. Here it is. Here's the endorsement tracker. We now have 4 losses on here, unfortunately. Hartzell Gray with a close loss, and Cori Bush with a devastating loss in Missouri. People are going to come in here and say, what the fuck happened with Cori? I'll tell you what happened with Cori. 27-1. That's what happened with Cori Bush. Cori Bush was outspent almost 30-1. So yes, money is still unbelievably important in races. So there is a degree. Now we know the margin. Wasn't that last time? Last time and this time, the total is insane. And that still has an impact. So we know what that margin looks like. The narrative for Cori Bush was set in the last election 2 years ago. AIPAC adjusted. AIPAC didn't spend the same amount because it wasn't unseating an incumbent, but defending an incumbent this time around. And there were still people in this election cycle talking about last election cycle's smears. Last election, the smears were Cori Bush did not vote ever. She was never around. That narrative was so powerful when she was the incumbent that it still existed in this race. I have people asking me, didn't Cori Bush scam us? And I just couldn't believe how susceptible to misinformation campaigns people are. Even with my own extended family, people predominantly get their political opinions from what's being fed to them on TV. No one can be bothered to do the littlest bit of reading. Yeah, it makes sense. This poll found that Bernie, AOC, and Zoran were the most popular politicians in Missouri won. And yet, Cori Bush in her own district was minus 27. That is how powerful the last cycle's ad spend still was. I mean, you see it. You see it every day with even something as silly as myself. With something as silly as like a Twitch streamer. You see it all the time. I mean, think about the amount of earned media that I get, that I receive in negative ad spend. This is my take. Truly, no offense intended to Hassan, but expecting normal people to know who a Twitch streamer is actually crazy. Exactly. No, that's my take. It's an extremely online and extremely echo chambered take. But unfortunately, while Twitter is not real life, and this little pocket on the internet that we exist in is not real life either, although we can have an impact in real life, and we showed that last night, Twitter is still the news editor of mainstream media. Discourse that thrives on Twitter makes its way to mainstream news outlets. That's how you arrive at funny situations like this. At a Haley Stevens event in Traverse City, last day, closing statements coming from the Haley Stevens campaign, when former Senator Debbie Stabenow was tasked with the role of attack dog. She described Twitch streamer L/Slaz supporter HasanDaily as probably the biggest anti-Semite in the media. The jab barely registered with the attendees. 25 to 30 people at a brewery, heavily 65-plus-year-old crowd. No one thought that was a salient point. It's interesting for me. I'm like, someone told Debbie Stabenow to say that. Someone armed her with that talking point, even if it's an ineffective one. So the question I always have in moments like this is, are they saying this because they think it's a good talking point? Are they saying this because they want to defang one arm of the insurgent left's media platforms that exist? Like, what is the purpose here? Are there some big donors that have put the beat on me? I suspect it's a little bit of all of the above. There's definitely a decent amount of hysteria amongst the boomercrats who have decided in their minds that I'm just like radical terrorist infiltrating the ranks of the Democratic Party. There's definitely some big donors out there who have decided we have to discredit this fucking guy. We have to discredit this platform. And then there's more tactical decisions being made behind the scenes as well. I suspect that this is a product of all of those things. There's also, I mean, it's a disciplining operation, as I talked to Chris Rabb about.
You say dumb things. I suspect if you go back over your career, there may be one or two things that you said that you may have regretted. But I think what we have got
Abby gives him nothing on that, by the way. Cold.
To do is look at the totality of where people are coming from and go forward.
So when someone like James Carville says he doesn't want to be in the same political party as Hasan Piker,
I don't think Abby Phillips hates me. I don't think she hates me. I think she's like agnostic.
which one are you going to take?
Well, that's not much of a choice. If Mr. Carville doesn't want to be in my party, the party that I belong to, that Piker, that Syed belongs to, he can start his own party. Look, what we are doing now is, you could turn the tables around and say, do you really want to be in a party where your leadership is taking huge amounts of money from AIPAC, which is supporting an
Have you gotten an invite from any of the outlets for the bullshit that they spew about you? No. Guys, here's the other side of the story. A lot of people develop their perspective off of clips out of context. If they were to actually hear me talk, if they were to actually invite me to any of these broadcasts, they would very quickly recognize that the image that they present of me is totally ridiculous. That is the reason why it's much better to not hear from me directly, but instead to talk about me all the fucking time. That's why these platforms will offer endless coverage to what I'm saying and what I'm doing. Most of the time it's negatively framed, or even better if they can get someone who would otherwise be a close ally to unendorse me or to yell about me or to disavow me or something, right? But we know what it looks like when I get a full interview. This is what it looks like when I get a full interview. Channel 4 did it. Watch this interview and tell me with a straight face that Hasan Piker is a threat to public order, an absurd decision to block him, but totally on brand for Shabana Mahmoud and the Labour Party together. It will be a real test of how much Burnham can constrain Mahmoud's most authoritarian instincts when Piker reapplies. That's the reality. Like, you know this already. I talk for 8 hours a day as a part of my job. I'm actually pretty good on my feet in these sorts of somewhat contentious interviews. Non-contentious interviews, contentious interviews, you know, I've done it all over. I go on podcasts all the time. I give television interviews when people ask me to. That's the reality. That's also part of the reason why CNN will never have me on. That's part of the reason why MSNBC will never have me on, because it's much more effective to just talk over me. It's much more, it would be great for them as far as driving clicks, driving excitement, boosting ratings if they were to have me on. I think a lot of people would watch primetime television, me versus Dana Bash or me versus Jake Tapper. They would love to watch that, but there's a reason why that's not going to happen, because it's much better for Jake Tapper to have Hillary Skolton on to call me a anti-Semitic terrorist, like perhaps one of the worst anti-Semitic terrorists of all time.
extremist Netanyahu government that many of us believe have committed genocide. Do you want to be in a party with people who do that? Do you want to be in a party which has not stood up to the AI industry because they got a lot of money from AI or from crypto? But I think we need a big tent, and I think people like Piker should be welcome into that, certainly.
Just a quick final question for you, Senator. If voters do choose to nominate Congresswoman Stevens tonight, would you support her in the general election if it meant winning that seat?
Yeah, I mean, he's said yes to that question how many times now? Echelon Insights. Evidence suggests that Haley Stevens was helped by crossover Republican votes in the Metro Detroit area. So I guess they tried to do a "it's Cuomo over" moment, and Abdul hit him with the Zoran, the Zoran blast. Perhaps, I don't know. It turns out Trump's biggest donor, Maddie Maroon, was out there.
We are Charlie Kirk. We carry the flame. We'll fight for the gospel. We'll honor his name. We are Charlie Kirk. His courage on. Together unbroken. We'll make heaven known.